What's good, everybody? We back with another episode of Sports Chaos with Dame. Today, I got a special guest with me, my boy Deuce. We're gonna be getting into the college football championship as well as the NFL playoffs. Of course, we're gonna start off with the national championship since that will be Monday night. It's the only game left in college. It'll be easier to just transition to the NFL. So we're gonna get into that Miami and Indiana matchup. What you think about that?
I'm split on Indiana. I think it's gonna be in the trenches a lot. I think it's gonna come down to how can Miami attack Mendoza and get him off the spot, and how can Fernando respond to the attack that's coming? Because the trenches is gonna be rough. It's gonna be the heaviest O line, the heaviest D line, most physical and violent we've seen all year against each other. So it's gonna be tough to see, but also I think I give Miami a little bit of the edge because Carson Beck is playing cool, calm, and collected football at a very right time where a lot of chaos happened for Miami season. And I see Miami competing a lot better than people give them a chance. They're that is 5 underdogs at home essentially. They're a away team, but essentially the home team and against a hot Indiana team. And I feel like Miami is gonna come out and punch them in the mouth. And it's gonna come down to who can get the biggest stop, who can get the biggest play. And I feel like Miami has more firepower with Malik Tony, with the running back, and with Carson Beck, and that defense can score at any time just like the offense can. And I don't think Indiana's faced a team with this much to prove and this much violence and physicality all game. They got tested against Ohio State, but Miami's a whole different monster. With the Mario coming from the Saban background, you know they're going to be disciplined, going to be ready to play football. And it's a lot better when you're playing at home. You ain't got to travel to Atlanta or you got to go to the Rose Bowl. You ain't got to go nowhere. You at home at the crib, eating right. I said white. But then pretty much saying, I think Miami comes out and wins. I think it come out win 28-8, 21.
28-21. It's funny to me because it's interesting because Miami played Cal last year with Mendoza at quarterback, and that game was a shootout. Miami ended up winning a crazy game. Of course, that was the Cam Ward days. The defense wasn't as strong. Defense took a big step this year with the portal was big, getting Keontae Scott and players like that. But another thing that transitions is he'll have a somewhat feel for what that pass rush is. Although I think that this year they took another step and are that much more dominant. I think with those two combined, I mean, you can say Bain's the best in the country, but with those two combined, that's definitely the best tandem in the country for sure. And then on the other side of the ball, like you said, it's going to start in the trenches, and you got Marquise Bell at left tackle, big dude, 6'8", 6'9", almost 400 pounds, I think it is. And then on the other side, you got Francis Mariano, which will be a top 10 pick in the upcoming draft, and he can move. So Miami has a physical offensive line. The size difference, I know a lot of people's like, well, the smaller guys will have the leverage. Indiana's team is old. Like the comparison of like 24-year-old linemen to 20-year-old linemen, I get all that. But I think when you're talking about the elites of the elites, and you've seen them win in the trenches against the best team in the SEC, the best defense in the SEC, which was Texas A&M. Then you get to see them go against the best defense in the country in Ohio State and affect the game the way they did. And that goes for both sides of the ball. So I think, and then even if you want to reach out to like, or speak on like a game like Ole Miss where you look and you might not think that Bain had much of an impact because the stats don't say it, but when you look at his win rates, he was still getting there, being able to get pressures, although he may have not had any sacks on, the stat sheet. So even when they're not winning, they're winning because you're going to be thinking about 3 and 4 all night. But on the flip side of that, Indiana, for the most part, they do a great job of staying in front of the sticks, being in third and shorts where, that the run can be an option. And if they're able to do that consistently, that can cause a problem for Miami's defense because one thing about Miami is if IU plays at a fast tempo, Miami doesn't really sub on the defensive line. And there's been a couple times in this playoffs where you've seen teams go up tempo, whether it was 2-minute offense or whatever the case may be, and 3 and 4 is out there gassed. And then when they got to come off the field, the defense just ain't the same. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a battle of really trying to keep Indiana behind the sticks because they don't never really have to play in that territory. As long as they're in that little third and short, third and manageable, it makes it comfortable for them because that's their game. Now, with that being said, on the flip side of that, Mendoza has the ability to scramble. I don't think he's like an elite scrambler, of course, but he can get out the pocket. So the thing is will he be more willing to use his legs in this game if 3 and 4 are able to get off the edge and cause problems because he likes to get the ball out quick, but he still has to make his reads, and there's a lot of RPO action. I don't know. It's going to be a super interesting matchup, but I think that people like you, to go on what you said, like people are just discrediting Miami, and I think it's disrespectful because up until this point, they've had the toughest road.
I also think for Indiana, on the flip side, like you saying, Indiana to have a chance, they have to establish a run game early. I know it's gonna be hard against those dogs up front in that front seven that attacks and flies to the football, but you have to establish that run because if you make Indiana one dimensional, it can be very tough because in the Penn State game they became one dimensional late, and Penn State got a big lead. Mendoza saved the day and threw a great ball and had a great catch. When you make them one dimensional, that's where the RPO game does not exist. There, you make these guys like Tantanga or Cooper, you make these guys that haven't been high volume receivers turn to guys that have to create. And that's where I feel like Miami, if it turns into a shootout, I feel like Miami has a lot more firepower on both sides to stop what they're doing in the shootout and you can go score. Because Carson Beck, we're not going to disrespect Carson Beck to what he was at Georgia. It's a whole new Carson Beck, calm, cool, will ball out. And that Ole Miss game showed me a lot. The fact that he climbed the pocket, saw nothing, he didn't bail, he attacked and got downhill, and ultimately won the game. And that's a what happens when you have a 5-year guy, almost 6-year guy at quarterback, and it helps. But also in these type of games where it comes down to IQ and making the right read and not losing the game for you, I just feel like Miami's a little more battle tested than Indiana. I'm not saying they're better than Indiana because to this far, but Indiana really ain't been tested but once. They beat an Alabama team that wasn't ready to play football, got punched in the mouth, couldn't respond. Ty Simpson got hurt lately, put some garbage points up. 33 in a Rose Bowl game is still a crazy thing. And then come out to beat Oregon like they did convincingly, and ultimately send Dante Moore back to the NFL draft, to not the NFL draft, back to college to reprove himself. That shows a lot how good Indiana is, but still hasn't played their best football game, and they're going to play it against Miami in a tough environment at home. You know it's going to be rocky. You know that green and orange is going to be all in the stadium. Michael Irvin on the sideline acting wild. You know what's going to be there. But can you rise to the occasion and be that number one team in the country you've been all year, or you gonna fold up? And I ultimately feel like they have the ability to, but if they really ready to go into enemy territory and win a big game, and we're gonna see. I really think we're gonna see.
Do you think it's going to be? That was actually something I was going to get to. Do you think it's going to be enemy territory? Because obviously it's a national championship, but it's still on home turf. Miami hasn't been here in so long. You got to think it's going to go crazy in Florida. They pack it out. But then on the flip side of that, these Indiana fans look like they was from Atlanta. Like that look, I told my cousin lives in Atlanta, and I had a conversation with him, and I said, if I didn't know any better, I would have thought that was a Falcons game. How much red and maroon was in there? Like it was crazy.
Week, Atlanta looked like it was Dirty Bird Nation in there with all that red in there, but they travel well. But man, something about that green and orange down in Miami in the Garden is gonna be showing up, and you know it's gonna be good to play at home.
Yeah, I no, and I agree with you, but I'm saying like for a team like die-hard alumni, former whatever relations you have with the school, and you're a Hoosiers fan, whether you was born in Indiana, whatever it is, like this moment you've never seen it. So some people will spend their life savings on this.
They selling out for this moment. They said they don't care the price they're going. And I love it because it creates, that's what makes college football so fun. It's not like pros. They're going to travel, and the crowd's going to be packed, and you're going to see it split. And you get to see all the big names that come back home, like Ray Lewis and Michael Irvin to the sideline. All this history on both sides. in two different ways, but all come together for the present just to create a great game. And I think it's going to be probably one of the best national championships we've seen in a long time. Two great programs that have been built really fast with two great coaches at the helm, two great quarterbacks at the helm, and two different stories. The 5 stars against the JMU stars, the 3 stars, whatever you want to call them, but they're here, and it's just two different stories, and it's going to be a big time clash come Monday night. And I hope people understand that Miami is not a 7.5 underdog. That's a lot of disrespects going on right there, and I
It's
think
I told people I think that spread is solely just because how dominant Indiana has been, and then they know people will bite on that because every round this far, for whatever reason, whether it was if they should be in or not, to the national championship, Miami has been disrespected and not given a chance. Now, with that being said, Ohio State, not that spreads matter, Ohio State opened up as a 9.5 point favorite against Miami. So they still, as dominant as Indiana has played in their 2 games, they still had Ohio State as a bigger favorite over us than them with the way that they've seen us playing and who we've beat. So I think that tells me a lot there. Not that anything matters, but what I was getting at earlier with the trenches, man. When you look at their schedule, they got Iowa, Penn State, and Ohio State, right?
hmm
That's the 3 best O lines that they played this year.
I will say Oregon just because of the 5 star rating and what it was, because recruits great, and
No,
they
I'm
probably
saying
have
Oregon's definitely a good school, but I'm saying the best O lines they played,
Metro
like
line probably
trenches.
definitely Iowa and Ohio State for sure.
So, but they beat Iowa on the road 20-15. Of course, you talked about the Penn State game where he threw an absolute dime. I mean, they won that game on the road 27-24, and we know Penn State was horrible this year. Even though they had high expectations, that was, and I'm pretty sure that was after the firing of James Franklin, or no? Do you remember?
I think that was a week. That was maybe been a week or two. I think he got fired on an idle, and they came back and played Ohio State that
Okay.
following week.
Yeah, so I can't recall for sure if that was before or after he got fired. But either way, Penn State was a shit show this year. And then the Big Ten championship against Ohio State, where, I mean, not to discredit them, but Ohio State beat themselves. Turnovers in the red zone, a 20-some yard missed field goal to tie it to go to overtime.
We act like Indiana played a perfect game. Indiana just won a bar fight where they didn't play good either. Mendoza didn't look like himself. Their defense played great because they only allowed 14 points. But you still rely on a field goal and 2 touchdowns to win a ball game, and that's not going to cut it against That's what I'm saying. In your big test, you showed out and you won, but how convincingly have you won, or how dominant have you been? Like, I understand the Alabama win and the Oregon win. This isn't 2020 or 2019. That's not Nick Saban. That's not the past of Oregon we're looking at over there. That's a different ball game. And they beat up on a Alabama team that got in the playoff off of great midseason play. They didn't play best football then. Oregon, they saw Oregon once already. They knew what to prepare for, and they beat up on them, and they capitalized on their mistakes. This is where like I said earlier in my past thing, I said they had to play their best game of the year this year, and they better not come half stepping, because that is a buzzsaw over there down in Miami, and you don't want to get behind, because you get behind, it's gonna be a hard time coming back.
Yeah, and as you're talking, I'm looking at the defensive ranks, and Miami is 4th in sacks, and these are defensive ranks. So Miami's 4th, IU's 9th. Miami has the 28th red zone. IU has the 43rd. So Miami wins both of those categories. Third down conversions, they're 8-9, so they're literally right there. First downs, IU has the best first down defense in the country, which in this matchup we talked about is going to be important because we know that Miami should come out and try to establish the run. And if they do, if they can beat them at the point of attack, that could be the difference in, that IU defense being comfortable or uncomfortable. Miami, on the other hand, is 21st on first downs in the country. IU's better pass defense-wise by 22 spots. Rush defense, they're both top 10. Miami is 6, IU at 2. And then yards per play is 12th to ninth, so they're in the same ballpark. Points 5 and 2. And then turnovers, IU's 13th in the country. Miami's 26th. But that's another big thing because, like you said, I don't think that Miami's going to really turn the ball over and get in their way. Carson Beck has one turnover, I think, since the middle of the season after the last loss. He's had one, or I'm sorry, two turnovers, and one was the last game, and it wasn't his fault. It was the last game or the game before, and it wasn't his fault. He's been playing lights out, so I don't think that he's going to get to this game and decide to fold against Indiana. He's played in the SEC for 5 years.
Experience is going to go a long way for Carson Beck. It's also Mendoza. Mendoza came from Cal, from a low end school, to come to the big stage. That I will say these are two quarterbacks that are hungry to prove to themselves. Mendoza already proved himself winning the Heisman, being number one team in the country to this point. But Carson Beck really has a chip on his shoulder because people wrote him off last year with Georgia and the year before. 2 years of Georgia that he played weren't so hot. And they lost big games, couldn't establish. They said he couldn't throw a football, and look at him now. He's on the verge of winning a national championship on his last chance. Like, you gotta realize it takes a lot of adversity you fought to get to this point, and people think he's just gonna go away now. I don't think he's gonna. I expected a big game from Carson Beck. I don't know if it's gonna be stats wise, leadership wise, some kind of big game where he's gonna affect. And also, if he gets his playmakers involved early and let them make it work for him, it's gonna be a lot easier game. He doesn't have to be Superman. He can just be a a glorified game manager, we call it, but that's not what he is at all.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's crazy because I think the biggest thing about this matchup and why people think it's so lopsided is because how good that IU offense is, and you don't look at Miami as a team that could put up points. And I will be real with you, and if you've watched previous videos, people will see that I always say Miami's going to win a gritty, tough game. Like I don't expect to win a shootout, but then against Ole Miss, they went out and showed if it gets like that, they can do that.
You're not
Carson
going. You're
Beck,
not
as
going.
long as he's comfortable and he's not turning that ball over, we can play that game. And other receivers been stepping up. Teams decided they wanted to come in, double Malachi Tony, cool. You got C.J. Daniels on the outside winning, having big games. Like, you got guys showing up and making plays when you need it because when I look at the offensive ranks, like Miami's 36th in red zone efficiency, 14th on third down, 32nd on first down, 71st in rush yards, which is actually red because that's terrible. Yards per play, 31st. And on the other side of it, I used top 10 in almost every category except for sacks allowed and passing yards, where they're 34th and 54th. And then, I'm sorry, they're 12th in rushing yards. But then when you take a look at the stat leaders, Carson Beck has thrown for he's thrown for about 240 more yards than Mendoza. Fletcher's rushed for 20 more yards than Hemby, but they do have another almost 1,000-yard back. And then Malachi Tony's better than, let me not say better. He has more receiving yards than Cooper.
But
Which is
also, but also, I feel like Indiana's number one is Santang as of recently, ever since Cooper went down.
no, and he's not. No, I was about to say he's nice. He's nice too, but
It's very balanced attack on both sides. It's really who can make somebody one dimensional. Because if they're both clicking, we might see a game like a 42-35. We never know. The defense might not just show up because they're both that much explosive. But also, I will say, and you said it's the gritty, tough game. Ain't nobody going to out tough Miami in a gritty game, and nobody's going to out tough Mario because you don't have the boys playing. But also, Sig been having shown he can win a gritty game against Ohio State, and Penn State it wasn't a gritty game because it was late, but I took a lot of adversity to come back and win.
yeah, no, that's a fact. And man, I think we had some good conversation on this one. So I'm looking. The spread's currently at what 8.5 now, so it's moved up a point.
Good dog.
And the over/unders at 47.5. We don't got to get into all that, but one more time, your winner and a score prediction for this matchup.
I think honestly, Miami comes out early. It punches him in the mouth. Indiana kind of climbs back and gets back into it. But I'm gonna live what I said earlier. I'm gonna change. I'm gonna say 28-24, late touchdown, Carson Beck. I don't know who to, but late touchdown. He gonna go down and win the game, give him his national championship Heisman moment for everybody to say.
I don't know if that's because you on my show. You know I'm a fan, but I love to hear
Yeah,
that. You know what I'm saying? But nah, I think it's gonna be tough. The trenches and the turnovers. I think there's gonna be a turnover or two in this game, and they can be crucial. They're gonna be crucial, and I just hope it's not Carson Beck. I hope it's 3 or 4 getting to the quarterback, getting a strip sack or something. But if we can continue to get him off the field on third down and have them in third and long situations where they're not really used to being, it's unfamiliar territory for them. I think it could be a long physical night. I don't think that Miami ever pulls away in this game. Although if you make a team one dimensional that likes to play balanced football because you get a lead on them, things can change. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm going Miami 24-20 in a tough game to win at the crib, put on for the folks. Y'all know the vibes, man. Well, now we're going to get into this NFL playoffs. All right, and now the first matchup we have in the divisional round of the NFL, we're going to start in the AFC, the 1-6. Broncos-Bills. Very interesting matchup to me here. What you think about this one?
a lot of people ain't gonna like what I gotta say, but boy, I think something about 17 don't gotta see Mahomes or Lamar or Joe Burrow, and I feel like he got a lot to talk about. He got a lot to talk about.
It almost feels written, right?
And boy, he better they written the script for him. He just can't mess it up. But I'm not gonna discredit Denver. That's a tough place to play. As a buzzsaw over their last couple years. Last year they played in the playoffs actually and came out swinging, but just couldn't hang around. But this year they built something over in Denver, and Sean Payton got them boys playing. Bo Nick's playing at a very good level. Looking like one of the best quarterbacks in the draft class of last year, and a very loaded draft class with him and JD and Caleb and Drake May. He making his statement too. But I think end all be all, you can't bet against Josh Allen. You just can't bet against Josh. In the same breath, you don't want to say that Denver's not good enough to compete, but it's just something about a playoff game. Somebody has been there and did it and just really couldn't get over the hump because of one person. I don't think nothing's going to stop him. But if Denver does come out and can limit Josh and QB spy him up and just get to him where he just can't be himself, it's going to be a rough game. But I think Buffalo has enough offensively to get done. I'm expecting a big game from James Cook. James Cook was non-existent last week, was non-existent, and they still beat a good Jacksonville team. I think guys like Gabe Davis or Curtis Samuel, these guys that have been around the league for a while, they're established, guys show up to wait. And then Kincaid and Dawson Knox.
Not to cut you off, Gabe Davis, I just seen is out. Yeah, but on top of that, I know you mentioned James Cook not doing much last week, but they're also going against the reigning DPOY and a good secondary this week that's better than the secondary they played last week. And on top of that, they had the second best rush defense in the NFL.
I feel like Joe Brady, in a way, knows how to. He's played against the best playoff defense. He knows how to do things in different ways. Like Kansas City's not been the greatest defense all regular season. When the playoffs hit, Spagnuolo turns them boys up to a different notch, and they went toe to toe. And you said Gabe Davis, Schaefer's going to step up in a big way. Curtis Samuel, Kincaid, Dawson Knox, all these guys in betweeners that can do enough for Josh Allen if they just give him the ball. And I feel like they got to establish a run game. And if the defense, that's the number one thing for Buffalo. The defense shows like it did last week in Jacksonville. Denver's gonna be in trouble because you really haven't played in about 2.5, 3 weeks because you didn't play the wild card, you didn't play the bye week, and really ain't have a test in a very long time since maybe the Packers game. They really haven't had a test. So how prepared are you actually going to be where Buffalo's been playing for the playoffs for the last 4 or 5 weeks?
Yeah, no, but another interesting piece that's out this I feel like is a big part of their game, especially when they're in the flow, is Ty Johnson.
True.
He's like obviously James Cook's their guy, but Ty Johnson's
gets a little burn too. They got a little 3-head monster with James Cook being the top, but these guys are good presumed to get James Cook a break.
Yeah, so and another interesting thing that people aren't really talking about is what the weather will be. I mean, right now, I don't know if this is game day weather or not, but it says 36 degrees with almost 9-mile-per-hour winds, and you're playing at elevation, which is tough for teams that travel there. Man, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be physical. It's another one of these games because, like I said, you have the number one rush offense in the league going against the number two rush defense that has the best cornerback and another solid and solid pieces with him in that secondary as well. It's a super interesting matchup. But I mean,
Oh,
they
just not to cut you off, Greenlaw is back this week for Denver. Greenlaw is back, so that's gonna be another big piece with him. Nick Benito, Cooper, all them guys. That front seven is gonna be screaming. But also, that's a tough dude to be hitting constantly. Josh Allen is as big as they are, and I really feel like if Josh is gonna want to get one, this is gonna be the best year for him to get one because next year you don't know what's gonna happen. You don't know who's coming back, and also they did activate Ed Oliver and I forget who else Buffalo. They just activated Ed Oliver. That's a big piece back coming for the defense in the
yeah,
middle.
and I'm looking here. So Buffalo has the number one pass, or they're first in passing yards in the NFL.
Yeah.
I didn't know that their defense was the best pass defense in the NFL, and that kind of leads to what I wanted to say next because the thing that and they're the one seed and we're having this conversation. It's tricky for me because all year long you had Denver in these tough games, down and out. They find ways to win, and you do it once or twice, and it's like, all right, and then you see it 4, 5, 6 times. It's like this is just who they are, and when you can consistently win them games, it's hard to bet against a team like that because they're finding ways to win, even when it isn't the prettiest. Like Bo Nix is one of them guys. It could look horrible. I remember watching the game against the Giants early in the year. I mean, they was down 2 or 3 scores in the fourth quarter. The defense got like 1 or 2 stops. I think one was a turnover, the other was a 3-and-out, and then Bo Nix every drive just capitalized. They came back and won the game. So it's just like even when he's not having, he's kind of like the Caleb Williams in a way. Like they can have a bad 2, 3 quarters, not be doing much, but that fourth quarter come around, you give them a chance. It's like they taste a little bit of blood and they strike and they become a problem. So and then you got a tough defense to back you on both levels. Like man, but then it's just like you look at the Bills roster, you say they're okay, but they just find a way to win. And this is kind of just what their identity is. But if they can't establish the run in this matchup with guys like PS2 going against mediocre receivers in the NFL for what they are, like, and Riley Moss is decent, but I've seen teams pick on him. Do you think that they'll be able to put together enough to win on the road in Denver?
I just it's a hard task, but if anybody was suited for it, I feel like Josh Allen's suited for it. I just feel like he's been bounced. He done got beat up on. He ain't got over that hump yet. I feel like this is the year he gets over the hump. And I feel like James Cook is gonna take a slight for what last week he was, and he didn't come to play last week. He got shut down, but also a great defense in Jacksonville. Great defense, no slighting them at all. But was non-existent, and they still found a way to win. I just feel like they're gonna find a way to win. I know tough place to play, but boy, it's like betting against Patrick Mahomes. You don't bet against 17. I just can't. I can't.
Now, we're having this conversation, and you remember was this the wild card matchup last year?
Yeah, that's the wild card when Denver came to Buffalo.
Denver came to Buffalo, and Bo Nix was a rookie, and that game was a very low-scoring first half. But then in the second half, Denver couldn't do nothing, and Buffalo finally made a play or two, and that's what won them the game, right? Let me look at that score of that game. What was the score of that game? But they ended up winning the game 31-7, but they were 7.5-point favorites coming in because they were obviously the better team last year. But now this team in year two with Bo Nix at quarterback, they're just a better team. They're more gritty. They're not going to just fold. And last year, that's kind of what happened. Like that second half, it was a competitive first half. That second half, they couldn't get nothing going. Rookie quarterback on the road, tough place to play. They just fell apart. And they got to the point where they had to go for it. They couldn't play, and it got super ugly. But that first half, I'm pretty sure they was winning like 10-7 a half or something, right?
Yeah.
Whatever the score was, it was a competitive first half, and then it just got ugly the second half. But now it's a different team, and you're traveling to their place. And when you travel to their place, like I said, tough place to play.
My house not a place to play. It's not an easy place
at all. And I don't know, man. I think it's gonna be tough. It's just the last 2 times they've played, it's crazy. In 23, which is a few years ago, Denver was 7.5-point underdogs at Buffalo and won the game outright 24-22. Last year, wild card round, Buffalo at Buffalo again. Buffalo was 7.5, beat them 31-7. Now they travel to Denver, and Denver is Denver getting 1.5? It's a pick 'em.
Yeah.
Denver's 1.5 point favorite at home, so this is a pick 'em. When I look at that, I basically say this is 50-50. I'm actually looking at 64% of the money's on the Bills to win the game. Tough, because like it's kind of like you say, like it was their last year in their stadium. Let me say that, even though they didn't end up getting any home games, but it just feels like it's just destined for Buffalo to finally get to glory, man. And this is tough. I'm gonna go. We can get into the picks for this matchup. I'm gonna go. I gotta go with Josh. I know I've been saying like probably sounding like I'm a lean towards Denver, but I feel like win or go home. I gotta go with the better quarterback. Give me Josh Allen in a super tough game. I'm saying it might be like 21-20, 24-23, something super crazy like that. I wouldn't be surprised. And then of course if Denver came out with the victory, definitely wouldn't be surprised. But if they do, I think it's going to be in one of them games that they've been doing all year. Gritty. Even if they don't look like they're supposed to win at one point, they're going to end up, popping up and showing that they belong because they get one or two stops. They give them life. And now the offense gets rolling. Like, it's little things like that. Good, I understand. So it'll be interesting to see how this matchup really plays out. And it's crazy because part of me wants to say Denver, but I like would go against what I like when it comes down to quarterbacks. However, I say that, and I did take the Jags to beat Buffalo last week, and obviously those quarterbacks there, it would have been Josh again. So I'm kind of going with what I usually go with this week, and I'm going Buffalo to win. But I wouldn't be surprised if Denver wins this game. Like I said, Buffalo number one rush offense in the league. Denver number two rush defense in the league. It'll be super important. Bo Nix is one of the best in the pocket when it comes to being elusive, extending plays, getting out of trouble. Buffalo's number one in the league in sacks. So it's going to be super interesting to see how this goes down. Like I said, I'm going Buffalo to win a super close game, 24-23, 21-20 type vibes. And we'll see what happens. All right, he popped back in. So what's your prediction, Deuce, for the Broncos-Bills matchup?
I think early it's gonna be nitty gritty. I think it's gonna be a couple field goals, maybe a touchdown. It's gonna be tight going to halftime. And I think it's when it comes out second half, I think adjustments are gonna be made. Sean Payton's gonna make an adjustment. And I ultimately see Josh Allen taking over the game. I also ultimately seeing him doing what he does, what he won an MVP for, what he's done for years, but just wasn't enough to win the big game. Ultimately, I see it as a 24-17 game winning for Buffalo and Buffalo moving on to next week.
All right, that's funny because I said I wouldn't be surprised if Denver wins, but I got to go with the better quarterback in this matchup. Even though I did pick Jacksonville to knock them off last week, I got to go with the quarterback here. But I wouldn't be surprised if Denver won a game. And I said I think it was going to be a close one, 24-23, 21-20 type game. I don't know why. I just wanted to, Josh Allen gets to play in these crazy games. Like, it's just how they end up being. So I don't know if that would necessarily be a good thing for them because, like I said earlier, Denver's won a lot of tough games, so maybe this one wouldn't play in his favor. But I just feel like that's what it has to be. This Denver team, compared to that matchup last year in the wild card round, took a big step this year. They're one seed for a reason, not coming in as a 7 or a 6, whatever they were last year. So that's that. And of course, Buffalo is a 6 this year, but they had Patriots in their division, which had a great year as well. So it is what it is. We'll see what happens there. And then the next AFC matchup, of course, is the 2 seed New England Patriots versus 5 seed Houston Texans, which got the 30-6 win over the Pittsburgh Steelers last week. I don't know why I was having a brain fart right there. Dominant win. Kind of what I expected personally. I didn't expect Pittsburgh to really come out and do much considering Houston has the best defense in the league. Pittsburgh does a lot of checkdowns, beat you one-on-one with DK, but they have a good secondary. A few times they did have DK, they didn't give him the ball, and then ultimately they just got shut down, didn't even score a touchdown. Now, this week it'll be a little different. Nico Collins was ruled out, so you don't have your number one receiver in an offense that's already been stagnant. You're traveling to Foxborough, which we know is a tough place to play this time of the year, against a team that has bought in to a former player's, identity, or I should say system, playing great ball. May have, I don't think so, but couldn't go wrong with, the quarterback being the MVP of the league, Drake May. But he's got to go against the number one defense. We seen that game last week was actually gritty against the Chargers. Chargers just couldn't do much offensively, and it could be another thing. Same story this week. Another struggling offense that can't do nothing against a good defense. Meanwhile, your good defense is eventually going to bend because that other offense is actually good. I'm kind of 50-50 here. But without Nico Collins, I think the Patriots just have to win this game. I don't really want to put too much thought into it, honestly. How you feel?
I'm not putting too much thought into it either. Once I saw that Nico Collins was out, I was like, man, the Patriots might have a field day. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout, but I do see it being like a 21-10 game. A 24-10 game. I see New England's offense getting stagnant a little bit, but they're just too good. They have too many weapons, too good of a run game, too good of an O line, too good of an offensive coordinator in Josh McDaniels, which don't get enough credit for what he's done over the years as an OC. And truly feel like they have a better quarterback. They also probably might have the best player on the field in Christian Gonzalez on both sides of the ball. Christian Gonzalez is arguably the number one corner in the league behind him in P2, arguably, and he's been cleared from the concussion protocol. I just feel like too much is at stake for New England, too much momentum, too much going for them right now, and I don't think Houston's good enough to beat them in a straight up game. If
I'll
it get
say, go ahead, my fault.
if Houston comes out and can get us some turnovers and maybe get some points on the board by the defense to help the offense out, I think that'll go a long way. But I don't see them being that good offensively to beat New England after no Nico Collins. I don't think they have enough.
See, but what's tricky to me is like I said that, and I feel like as I'm sitting here listening, I'm like, man, I feel like I said that a little too easy because it's only a 3-point spread on the line, and I actually like the 3 because it's hard to say that defense won't go out there and put on a performance when you just seen the Chargers put on the performance they did against New England. But you also don't want to take too much out of it. And then they also are coming in, regardless of what you think of Pittsburgh, this is the NFL. They didn't give up a touchdown. You know what I mean? But on the flip side of that, New England, the exact same thing, right?
Not to cut you off, also not to cut you off, but the level of offense in New England is at the same level. It's way higher than Pittsburgh's, and the play calling, everything is a lot better in New England than Pittsburgh. Like, I understand Aaron Rodgers running for his life, but Drake May also understands what's at hand. And is also a underrated mobile quarterback where he can use his legs to keep the defense honest. You can't just send 6 or 7 because you send the house. He's free for 5 to 10 yards on a rush, and he's a very underrated.
Yeah, no, for sure he can run the ball, but I'm saying this defense is number 1 in the league in probably almost every category. So regardless of it being Pittsburgh or not, they've shown that they're the real deal. They got guys that get to that quarterback. They got one of the best corners. They got one of the best safety tandems in the league, like Al-Shaair, whatever. He, all pro this year, maybe. I don't know. Like, he's playing good ball. He's definitely a pro bowler. So that defense is tough, but I think I'm in agreement with you. I think New England wins the game. I think Texans defense will keep it close because C.J. Stroud has to make a few plays in this game. They have to look better than the Chargers did last week. And again, I think that with the lack of offense that the Chargers were able to produce, the Patriots themselves were still only able to put up 16 points. So if they win this game, I see it being like a 20-17, maybe 20-14 type game. I don't think it's going to be super high scoring, which always gives Houston an opportunity because they have the better defense. And then on top of that, we're talking about Nico Collins being out. Gonzalez did clear protocol, but who knows if he gets a little banged up or two, what his health status could be for the remainder of the game. Not that you ever want to see someone go out, but, if he were to go out due to the fact of, him having a concussion a week prior, how much that would change that defense because he's by far their best defensive player. I don't know. It's an interesting one. Like I said, I see like a 20-17 New England type win, though. I think it's going to be low scoring, gritty, two good defenses, but New England obviously has the better offense, so I think they make more plays in the end.
Yeah, I also think New England has too many playmakers. They have too many playmakers on that side. They have Stephon Diggs, they got Booty, they have Davis, they have all these guys, Ramondre Stevenson, Hunter Henry, Travion Henderson. Any one of these guys can be explosive at any time to be the big play they need. Because all it takes is for one big play to happen to get the DC out of what they want and bringing the pressure. Because you know Houston's bringing the pressure. There's no doubt about it. They're sending the house because they can do that because they have two legit corners, the best safety tandem in the league, arguably, and they have linebackers that can cover, so they can send the house or where they want. But ultimately, I think that New England has to establish the respect for the run game and make them respect them on the outside. For Houston doesn't get comfortable because Houston gets comfortable and starts getting into their schemes and their stunts and whatever they want to do to make you uncomfortable. It's gonna be a long day for Drake May, honestly.
Yeah. I'm actually seeing Justin Watson's out for Houston as well. It's funny though because every time Nico Collins is out, Higgins has a day. Like it just seems like when he's out and his numbers called, he has a day. So I want to see him in this matchup because I would assume that's who Gonzalez would be looking out for most of the night. I know he doesn't usually follow. I would like to see the number one start following more though. But his scheme's a scheme, so it is what it is. And then we'll get into the matchup for the third time this year, the number one Seattle Seahawks versus the number 6 San Francisco 49ers. It's another one because the Niners won early. The last game that they just played, week 18 for this right here, the 1 seed, 3 points. Defense looked good. I mean, defense gave up 13. It was a gritty defensive battle, and for the third time, twice in 3 weeks, I don't really know what to expect in this one because the last one I believe was in Seattle. This one will be in Seattle. Who knows what the weather will be in Seattle? Could be rainy. 12th man's crazy. What are your thoughts on this one?
If 49ers were coming into it healthy with George Kittle, I was leaning towards San Fran, but the loss of George Kittle, I just think is too big to overcome unless Christian McCaffrey just turns into that OPOY guy we saw 5 years ago and just takes over a game. I just feel like Seattle's defense is way too good, and their run game, they're probably one of the best running back tandems in the league with Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet, both willing to hurt you in different ways, and arguably has one of the best receivers in the league outside. But
Yeah.
ultimately, the biggest question for that game is what Sam Darnold is going to show up.
No, for sure. Let me correct myself real quick. That week 18 game was actually in San Francisco. It was not in Seattle. So that was a 13-3 victory on the road. Which they didn't actually give up. They gave up that field goal in the second quarter. So the first, third, and fourth, second half shutout. That's tough. I don't know. It's when you see division matchups like for the third time in the playoffs, and of course this wasn't something we used to see a lot, but of course now since they added the teams, you get to see these extra teams in the playoffs. It happens more commonly, and when you got to play somebody 3 times, it's just tough. You don't really know and they split. But I agree with you. The better team is Seattle. I actually thought San Fran would win week 18 and secure the 1 and get the first round bye, but they ended up losing. They didn't score a touchdown. Brock Purdy, I mean, he had 1 pick in that game. Sam Darnold, I mean, he had a good day, but he just controlled the game. He didn't throw for a touchdown. It was a nasty game for her. I don't really even know how to gauge this. I would think come playoff time, like you said, with no George Kittle, this would be a Jackson Smith and Jigba type game. But then do you really want to put the ball in the hands of Sam Darnold comfortably in the playoffs? Or do you just want to grind this thing out, utilize the run game, see if it's effective, and let it be one of those type of nights where you rely on your defense against a division rival? We'll see. This game, this is a tough matchup, but I'm going Seattle. I got to go Seattle. Like I said, the second time in 3 weeks. The last time y'all played, they scored 3 points. I think Seattle wins a gritty game. I could see it being maybe 19-16, something like that. I don't think it's going to be a lot of touchdowns scored. On the other side of that, if Shanahan could dial some stuff up and they can come out and move the ball and be able to put up points, this is a game that also has the potential to turn into a shootout. But just based on the way that last game went, neither team was able to really find anything and be able to stick to it effectively and efficiently. I think that I got to take Seattle on a close one, like I said, like 19-16, something like that. What's your thoughts, man?
So I think Seattle comes out and just loads the box up. Ultimately, you tell Brock Purdy to beat us. You're not going to stop Christian McCaffrey, but ultimately you can limit what he can do. And I think they're going to load the box up with Ernest Jones, Kobe Bryant, Elo. You got all big bodies in the middle. They're going to be ready to play. And ultimately, I feel like it's going to be too much. I don't think Sam Darnold has a great day. I think he has a good enough day to get to the NFC Championship. With the talent around him, is going to show really how great their team is built. They're not just a JSN team. They're not just a defensive team. They have lots of different weapons and can win in different ways. And you saw when he played Week 18, they hold one of the best offenses in the league for half the season or last half of the season to 3 points. Held a top 5 running back to not scoring. If you really think about it, it's really hard to do because you think of San Fran, the one thing they're going to consistently do is run the ball, and you consistently stop them and held them to 3 points. That's a hard task to do, but you did it. And plus, you know that 12th man is going to be rocking in Seattle. You know it's going to be ready to go. They've been wanting this for a while. They've been hungry for this for a while, and they're back. Also, I see it. Also, I see a 20-13 game. I think Seattle wins 20-13. Maybe a late turnover by Purdy for the ball game. I think that's maybe I'm calling. I'm put it on the money line. D-Law, strip sack, fumble recovery.
Yeah, like I said, I'm with you. I don't disagree at all. I think Seattle wins the game. It's at 19-16, but I tell you what, if San Fran comes out and they're not able to move that ball again, it could be a little uglier. I know the spread says 7. I think it's going to be a little closer, especially for the third time. It was something like that last time, and it was 13-3, so you can't take too much out of that. So we're in agreement there with the Seattle victory, and then of course that last matchup for the NFC is the 2 seed Chicago Bears against the 5 seed LA Rams. One of the best offenses in the league, the defense with the most takeaways in the league. But when they're not taking the ball away, that defense will give up some plays. Rams came out last week hot, kind of died down, let Carolina stick around, had to put a drive together at the end to go win the game. So they won a tough one there in a matchup where they was 10.5-point favorites. And the thing about that is they were 10.5-point favorites against that team, or I'm sorry, 10 point the first time, 10.5 in the playoffs, on the road twice against Carolina. And they barely won this one, and they lost the first one. And this Rams team went to Carolina and lost as well. So, what am I saying? Disregard that. Disregard that. But yeah, so I don't know. Traveling to Chicago, you never know what to expect out of the weather there either.
Not to cut you off, the weather is supposed to be pretty nasty. It's gonna be a lot. They said wintry mix with lots of wind, so it's gonna be a regular day in Chicago for them.
Regular day in Chicago. I read something this week where Ben Johnson wasn't letting the players use warmers during practice. They weren't fans of it at first, but now they're understanding why, because it's not a home field advantage unless you're used to it. So by them practicing like that, they're used to it now. So I thought that was pretty dope to see. So yeah, you bring the team from LA into Chicago, wintry mix, like cold, tough. It's going to be physical. Who has the better run game here? I mean, obviously we trust Matthew Stafford more with his weapons. The Rams coming in is the favorite too. What is the spread in this matchup here? 3.5. So they're coming in as 3.5-point favorites on the road. I definitely like the Bears with the points, but I think I got to go with the Rams for the win. Like, for the few times I've been asked this year who's going to go to the Super Bowl, I can't really give an answer. It's super wide open. But one team I've always mentioned, the 2 or 3 times I did, was the Rams. I don't know what it is about them. I think it's because of the offense. Matt Stafford with them weapons. There really ain't much they can't do other than getting their own way. And as long as the defense of secondary can show up, because you know the front four is going to show up. As long as the second half of that defense shows up, we're good to go. So I think the Rams will take care of business. The Bears, another one of them teams that we kind of talk about, like the Broncos. They've been gritty wins all year, you know, and they just find ways to win. Last week was one of them. They've had two crazy fourth quarter comebacks against the Packers in the last month. So, that's just who they are as well. So it'll be interesting to see. I think the key to this matchup is the Rams defense early against that Bears offense. Because if the Bears are able to effectively move the ball and keep up with the pace of the Rams, because I don't think that the Bears will, really neutralize that Rams offense too much. So if the Bears can come out early and move the ball effectively, I think this can be a instant classic type of game. It would be crazy to see the Bears get a big win over probably the MVP of the league to go to their conference championship. But I got to lean Rams. I think I'm gonna go Rams. Probably say 31-27, something like that. Like I think it's gonna be. But you did say bad weather though, man. So I don't know. Because a bad weather game, I don't know who that favors. I really don't. In a bad weather game, I don't. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with my gut. I'm gonna say 31-27 Rams, because I don't know. Like the weather always don't determine that. I mean, we seen the game in Philly last year, how crazy that game was. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with that. What's your thoughts on that game?
Man, we disagree for the first time today. I'm going with Chicago. I'm going with Chicago. I'm gonna trust I'm gonna keep riding the high horse on the gritty
I
wins and the
like it.
takeaways. And I ultimately I love Ben Johnson as a coach. I love Ben Johnson. I think he's gonna have a game plan to establish no matter what the weather is. If it was sunny, sleeting, it doesn't matter with Ben Johnson. He's gonna do what he does. And ultimately, I'm riding the Caleb Williams bus. I'm riding. I was a hater at first of Caleb Williams, but he's been balling. He's been balling lately, buying into the system. The guys around him are rallying, and they're getting Roma Dunze back a week healthier. DJ Moore's been playing good. Coasting Lovin had a great game, pretty much won the game last week. A lot of things going the right time. Got Jalen Johnson back, Brisker, you get Kyler Gordon, you got the pass rush going. And ultimately, I say this, it's going to be a rough game, and I don't know how LA is going to react. Because you see how it was down in the rain in Carolina when they played. It's a lot harder to play in some snow when it's extra cold up in Chicago. Plus, the crowd, like we said earlier in that, he talking about they ain't seen this in a while. They haven't had this in a while. Chicago hasn't seen anything this close since Jay Cutler. To be honest,
Yeah. So like I was saying, you didn't want to. You're talking about the weather, but with that, they went to Philly last year against who we ended up knowing was the Super Bowl champs, and gave them their toughest game of the year in the snow. And they were able to make big plays in that game, even when their back was against the wall. The Puka catch, like we've seen it. So we know that they can play in that type of atmosphere. So it's going to be more pressure on Chicago because they're not used to being here. This Rams team, Stafford has seen a Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Devontae Adams, seen a Super Bowl. So you got guys that got that championship DNA that knows what it takes. You don't have anybody, I believe, on that Chicago team that can say that. No, because I think Swift was with Chicago or Philly 2 years ago because they got rid of him for Saquon. So yeah, I don't think you have anybody on that team that can say that. And I think that'd be a big difference in this game. But the Bears are playing good football. They're gritty, and I'm with you. I like Ben Johnson a lot too, so I wouldn't be surprised or I wouldn't be disappointed if the Chicago Bears was to win this game. I think it's good for football, kind of like what we talked about earlier with the college. It's refreshing to see new teams. It's weird. Like me watching football last week and the Panthers being in the playoffs, it really didn't feel like a playoff game because we're not used to it. But when you get those type teams, it's good. It's good for football to see the new faces. It's good for the fans of those teams that really never got to see success. And then you don't got people like myself that gets to see, pretty good football year in and year out. And then a year like this, when teams make it that you're not used to, my team's on the couch. So it is what it is. But yeah, I got Rams winning in that matchup.
I think I'm gonna say Chicago. I'm gonna say Chicago 27-20. Late,
27-20.
late Caleb Williams drive down the field, touchdown for the game.
Hey, so you know the crazy thing is you said 27-20 Bears. I said 31-27 Rams.
Yep. I think the snow's going to
So
take a part in the game, but I still think these teams can score. Stafford proved last year he could score in the snow. Chicago's been there before, done it in bad weather. We'll see. Whoever established the run game early is ultimately I feel like it's going to win the game, and whoever wins the turnover battle, which I think Chicago has the better overall defense, but I feel like the Rams have a better front four, front seven, because I feel like
all right.
Chicago has the best corner in the matchup. That's gonna get Devontae Adams. You got Kyler Gordon or guys like that. That's gonna get Puka Nakua or whoever you want to do it. And ultimately, it's gonna be a different ball game once you get a little pressure on you in that corner position.
No, that's a fact. We probably won't do this again before. So since we already gave our picks for this round, let's go ahead. So we agreed on. So we did 4 or 5 games today. Four NFL, 1 college. We agreed on everything except for the Bears Rams. So you got if we're both right, Broncos, Pats. Who you got representing the AFC?
Now we picked Buffalo. We picked Buffalo.
I
Remember
mean,
we
I'm
picked
sorry, Buffalo.
Buffalo.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. You're right.
Yeah,
Buffalo.
you right.
Buffalo
You right.
Pats. No, you're right. Buffalo Pats for the 3rd time. Who you got?
I'm right. I'm still riding. I'm riding with Josh Allen. I think they don't got beat. New England got them the last time. I think. Actually, no, they got them the first time, and then Buffalo got them the second time. Am I correct?
Buffalo overcame that 21-0 start too.
Yeah, and I
On the
also
road.
feel like New England's great, but not yet. Not yet. Not yet. I don't think it's
Yeah,
gonna be
it would be
enough.
tough for Josh Allen to own that division, and then Drake May come in and his first good season knock him off in the conference championship. I feel like that would kind of be crushing. And as they like to say, legacy defining moments. That would be one for Drake May, but that would be tough.
Yeah,
for Josh Allen to deal with. But I'm kind of with you. As much as
it's written.
a Ravens fan, I'd rather Lamar get one before Josh. I think if the Pats and Bills played, I would have to go Bills again, but that would be the second time in Foxborough. Could they win in Foxborough twice? They lost at home, then they went to Foxborough, got down 3 scores, fought back and won. But I don't know how to really gauge that game because I don't see this same Pats team blowing another 21-point lead. So that's interesting. But I think I'd be with you and go Bills over Pats if that was the matchup. On the other side of that, I went Seahawks, Rams. I would have to go Rams over them. Matt
And not
Stafford
to
to the
cut you off,
bowl.
I think whoever
If that
wins
was
this
the
game in
matchups, if both my
Chicago
picks were right.
is going to the Super Bowl. I think this is the NFC Championship. That's why I feel like I think Seattle's good, but I don't think they can match up with both ends. I think the NFC Championship is going to be Chicago this week. And I think Seattle
I
doesn't have
like
enough
that.
on for either one of them.
But well, I guess it's different for you because you took the Bears. I'm about to say, but like for me, I went Rams. If the Rams win, whoever wins that other matchup, that's another division matchup for them. So that would be a 3rd time
Yeah.
they matched up this year, and I'm pretty sure they beat uh they lost to the Niners both times.
I think
Did they?
he's split for both.
Yeah. So either way it went, like I know they finished 3rd in that division, but nonetheless, we ain't got to get too deep into that because we don't know if they'll even, actually all win. That's just hypotheticals. I just wanted to see. And then, okay, so you got basically the Bears or Rams going to the bowl, whoever wins that, and the Bills coming out. Who would win the Super Bowl for you at that point?
I'm riding with Buffalo. I think Josh Allen. I will say this: if they play the Bears, I would definitely ride Josh Allen. But if the Rams, I think it'd be a different ball game because that's something that as a defense that can shut him down or neutralize him. An offense is going to match him, and a quarterback that's been there before, and will match him.
Hey, not this because this could start a whole nother conversation. As I'm listening to you, something that's actually crazy, bro. Caleb Williams and Drake May are 1 win away from going to the conference championship in their 2nd year after Jaden did it in their rookie year. Like, all 3 of the quarterbacks could literally be to the conference championship in the first 2 seasons. But what was even crazier is they could both win 2 more games and play each other in the Super Bowl.
No matter.
Could you imagine Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears versus Drake May and the New England
And
Patriots
Bo
in
Nix
year
as
2.
well. That's another year two quarterback that can go to the bowl.
Bo Nix is year 2. You're right. I was just thinking of that matchup in particular. But yeah, Bo Nix is right there. But what pick was Bo
Top
Nix?
10, I believe. Top 10, maybe a little bit, maybe outside.
Yeah, so you're right. Bo Nix is right there. So it's crazy because Bo Nix is actually the only one that made the playoffs 2 years in a row. Oh, he was 12. Yeah, so he was kind of like out of the initial category of those top three.
Another conversation for another
but
day.
I mean, he's still either way second year guy.
Re-ranking the QB class. We'll
But
talk
that'd be crazy.
Re-rank the QB class and see where we're at after everybody's been after 2 years.
Re-rank the QB class, and before we get off this, just know, hey, football's almost over. NBA talk is about to get spicy. Yes, sir. Thanks. Nah, but that's really it, man. We went through the college football playoffs, or I'm sorry, the national championship and the NFL playoffs. So that's everything. I appreciate everybody. Make sure y'all like, follow, subscribe, hit the bell for the post notifications. That way you get notifications when I drop any content on YouTube. I appreciate everybody. Catch y'all on the next episode.